not quite sure I understand.
Did you read the first few pages that talks about adulthood?
So are you talking about the first things that I said to you? That's just me talking. That's not, so my book is entirely fiction. But what I was saying to you at the beginning is just me giving you my thoughts. Does that make sense? You got it? Okay. So yeah, what's in the story collection is entirely fiction, entirely stories about other people, other than you. Yes? Yeah, this is a really interesting question. Okay, what he asked was, was I able to do research talking to reality TV producers? The answer is no, because everyone who works in reality TV signs a $3 million non-disclosure agreement where if they tell you what happened behind the scenes, they are on the line and can get sued for $3 million. So once in a while, someone will speak out. I think there was a big thing with like The Biggest Loser. Some of the contestants are speaking out, being like, "This is inhumane, and you're killing people. Like, this is not okay." But they kind of banded together to speak out, and I think they got in massive amounts of trouble for it, for like revealing some of the secrets of the show. I tried. I looked online, and I was trying to find articles about it, like tell-all, backstage, things from people who quit their job or were disgruntled, or how does it work, or like documentaries behind the scenes. There was nothing. And so what I did basically was I assumed the worst. I kind of wrote the worst case scenario of the way I thought these people could be manipulated. So then, and I totally guessed it, didn't run it by anybody. It was published in a literary magazine, and then it was aired. I don't know if you guys are familiar. There's on public radio. There's a show called This American Life, which is different. Usually people telling the actual true life stories, but in this case, they had me read a slightly abbreviated version of that story. So I read it, and after that aired, because that was a much wider audience, right after it aired, I started getting emails. And some of them were from people who were really confused, because since it was first person, like an I story, a lot of people thought it was true. And so some people were very excited because they were like, "Someone's finally talking. Would you come?" And someone asked me to be in a documentary. Someone asked me to speak on the record about like Juliana Rancic's breast cancer. Like all these just bizarre requests. I had to write back to all of them being like, "I'm really sorry, I made it up. It's fiction. I was lying." But a lot of the emails I got were from people who did work in reality TV, who, it was gratifying but alarming, were writing to tell me that I'd gotten it exactly right. That all these horrible things that I'd imagined, all this worst case scenario, they were like, "Yeah, it's true." Some of them saying, "What show did you work on?" I must have worked on some show to know this stuff. Others, it was really interesting for almost all of them, they couldn't even tell me what show they worked on. They could say, "I work on a reality show for MTV, but I can't tell you which one." It's fascinating. And the only thing that I ended up changing, I later, a couple years on, after it was published, I met and became friends with an artist who used to be a set dresser on The Bachelor. So he used to have this job like stringing lights and like spraying trees down with water so they look shiny and romantic. That was his job. And he got fired in this like spectacular fashion for like telling The Bachelor something he wasn't supposed to know. He got fired. It was this amazing story. And I had him read the story, and I said, "Is there anything I should change?" And he had me change one thing about, he was like, "You need to say somewhere in there that it's a non-unionized show, because otherwise your distribution of labor doesn't make sense." So there was this one thing. Yeah, that was simultaneously one of the most gratifying things as an author, to be told, like, "You guessed, you didn't know, and you got it right." Which is so much of what we do as writers when you're not writing about yourself. I'm trying to imagine what's it like to be an old man or whatever it is. To be told you got it right, and then it was also horrifying that like my nightmare version of what this is like was pretty much dead on. So yeah. And then now there's a show that actually, there's a show called Unreal. Have you guys seen this? I'm not, okay, don't spend your time watching TV, spend your time on your homework, so forget that I said this, but it's really good. I think it's on Showtime. There's a woman who did work on The Bachelor, and she's made a drama called Unreal that is basically very similar to, not like they were to me off, but it's very similar situation to my story. It's the person who's a producer on it. But she can tell whatever she wants because it's fiction. She's making it up. She's not coming out and saying, here's what happened when I worked on The Bachelor. She's making up a fictional show that happens to be a lot like The Bachelor, and then showing all the behind-the-scenes drama. It's fascinating. And at first I was watching it out of anger, because I got this person ripped me off, and I'm gonna like watch to see if I can sue. And then I realized, of course, she didn't. And then I was, but I didn't. I was like, well, I'll just, you know, it's a guilty pleasure. I'll watch one more episode, and I was completely hooked for life. So, or should we wrap up there? Is that good? Okay, thank you all so much.